Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at the conference. I feel very honoured to be here. Louisa suggested that I talk to you about what we do at Prisoners Abroad to help prisoners overseas, and a little bit about what happens when they return home. Prisoners Abroad works with British citizens imprisoned overseas and their families and supports them on their return to the UK. Currently, our numbers of British people in prison around the world are, if I can find the, thank you, 1,700 prisoners in 100 countries, 2,100 family members, and about 230 using our resettlement service and returning. We have 27 staff providing information and practical and emotional support to our service users. We also raise money and, of course, run the organisation. We have 93 volunteer translators who help people understand court documents and legal correspondence in 20 languages. And we have 5 volunteer family group coordinators who enable families around the UK to meet regularly in confidential and non-judgmental environment to provide peer support. 91% are men, 9% are women, and the offence profile usually changes from country to country, but overall you can see that 40% are drugs, 18% on murder, so we have an unusually high number of potentially dangerous offenders. Our top 10 countries are the USA, Spain, France, as you can see. Italy is currently in 18th place with only 13 prisoners. British numbers are focused in the countries where traditionally Brits have emigrated. So that means the USA, Canada and Australia, but also our nearest neighbours, which of course are France and Spain and Ireland, and popular destinations like Thailand. And then of course there are the drug routes in South America and Southeast Asia. What it means is that of our 1,700 prisoners around the world, a third are in North America, a third in Europe, and a third in the rest of the world. And where you are in the world indicates the kind of support that you might need. For the rest of the world category, our help is very much needed during imprisonment. And it's often vital life-saving support that we give, whereas in North America, you might need our help on return to the UK. One of the things said most frequently by our clients is that our help and support saves their lives. But on the face of it, that sounds really quite shallow. If you're dealing with the violence and frequent use of total isolation in the USA, or complete control of your body and mind in Japan, then you begin to understand how the support and involvement does save lives. But then you talk to people who have been held in an overcrowded prison cell in searing 40-degree heat, drinking filthy, unfiltered water from the river nearby that has debris and mosquito larvae floating in it. Places where people with diabetes are not given their insulin, where asthma inhalers are not available, where people have been shot by stray bullets from inter-gang warfare within the prison, places where the prison guards only patrol the perimeter, and the guns and knives and even hand grenades are easily visible in the possession of the prisoners. They may only be on remand, but they may equally be on a life sentence. And these are the prisons where everyone, and especially the foreign nationals, continually live in fear. And now you can really begin to see the importance of our work and the impact on the people that we help and support and how we do indeed save lives. Prisoners Abroad is here for the long term, for as long as it takes. We support people on very long sentences and some will never be released. We don't judge, we just care and we notice. Knowing that someone on the outside is there for you is a critical part of your mental survival. But there are lots of other things that we do too. We provide survival grants for people in countries where conditions are really hard, of up to 43 euros per month, and top up those with vitamin grants in countries where the nutritional value of the food is truly poor. We send books, magazines, newspapers, and most memorably for our prisoners, we send birthday cards and Christmas cards, the two emotional low points in the year. The cards are often the only ones that they receive. We provide information about prison systems, criminal justice systems, answer a myriad of questions from what happens to your flat and possessions if you're not there to pay the rent. How do you send in clothes to a loved one? How do you contact your loved ones? How do you get or arrange a visit? And then, of course, we get odd ones, such as, where is my dog? That was someone who was arrested with his dog. And then another one that surprised us was, where are my trousers? And that was someone who was transferred to another prison rather hastily, and he'd put his trousers into the laundry. We paid for some new trousers. Some of these questions you might expect the prison to help with, but what if you don't speak the local language and can't even ask the question? Or what if you don't understand the answer? Well, we send in dictionaries, language books, as soon as we can, because communication is so fundamental to the human condition. And often our services can seem simple and straightforward, and yet it can be vital things that we normally take for granted that suddenly become difficult to obtain. For example, for most of us, a book is a pleasurable distraction when we have the time to sit and focus on it. But for a prisoner, a book gives them something to do and represents the ability to lose themselves for a few minutes and helps to maintain their mental health, because in their head they can enter a world away from the horrible reality of their surroundings and their situation. But it's also in their own language, and that keeps your native language current and can be used to help teach English. It is a positive use of time for many who are in prison and want to learn the local language in return. Sending a newspaper seems like just something to read. It has all the benefits I've just mentioned, but it's great preparation for release. It helps to keep people up to date with what's going on close to home. We also send our newsletter 4 times a year. It gives prisoners a forum to express themselves and write about their own experiences. We also have a much valued service of providing reply-paid envelopes to prisoners so they don't have to find the cost of foreign postage. And we encourage people to stuff them full of letters to their friends and loved ones, and we post them on when they get back to the UK. Because keeping prisoners in touch with their family and friends is actually a critical part of ensuring that prisoners have somewhere to return to at the end of the sentence. If communication breaks down, then it's unlikely that the prisoner will be accepted back into the home when he or she is released. And supporting the family is really important, not just to the family members, but often the prisoners too are desperate to know how their loved ones are when they are in a country hundreds or thousands of miles away. For the families, it's hard to express the shock, the anger, the frustration, desperation, and complete isolation that they feel, not to mention the continuing stress. They might have kept the whole thing quiet because of the stigma. It's so easy to say that someone is working abroad, that the friends, families, neighbours have no idea what's going on. And as time goes by, the days stretch into months and months of remand. And then there's the critical point of the court process and sentencing. And the family want to know what's happening, but the prisoner often doesn't know much either. We can't bring prisoners home, and we don't intervene in the criminal justice process, but we do focus on their welfare. But to support families and loved ones often means providing a listening ear. And you can't underestimate the importance of having someone who's supportive and non-judgmental to talk to share your innermost fears and nightmares when you may be extremely distressed. It's a big step for family members to take, to dare to make that phone call. We have our caseworkers who are skilled listeners, and react appropriately and with empathy. Families who want to make more than a phone call, we have a confidential chat line so that they can get information, and we have family days that run around the country with regional support groups so that people can provide support to one another. Throughout the prison sentence, it's quite normal for both the prisoner and the family to wear rose-tinted glasses, focusing on the day of the release as being the end point to the nightmare that they're living through. But our daily experience tells us that it's not an end point, it's just the beginning of the resettlement phase. We strive to ensure that people think more realistically about this, and we have handbooks and material to help them do that. For some prisoners, the easiest way to cope is to cut communication with their nearest and dearest. But we know that having someone to communicate with will ensure that they have somewhere to go when they're released, which is critical, of course, in helping keeping people away from crime and providing a crime-free future. About 600 of our clients are released each year, and between 150 and 200 are deported back to the UK, away from their friends and family who live in the country where they were imprisoned. They're usually from the USA, Canada, and Australia, and emigrated there when they were small. And having been deported, they're banned with no right of return. People in this position arrive at our door with nothing but the clothes they stand in, no release grants from an overseas prison. Their possessions and their identification are often missing. And we provide a resettlement program that helps people in this position to begin the long process of reintegration. So when they arrive at our office, we review their immediate needs and respond to this period of crisis. This may mean finding them a change of clothing, emergency accommodation, so they don't have to sleep on the street. They don't have to steal food to eat. We have a myriad of medical needs. Over the years, we've seen unset broken limbs, late-stage cancer, suspected tuberculosis, and any other number of physical and mental health conditions that are gone untreated in prisons. We anticipated big changes following the introduction of Framework Decision 909 on the transfer of sentenced prisoners, but fewer than 10 people have been transferred back from the UK, to the UK from other European states. We didn't expect an enormous movement of refugees in Northern Europe, and many Brits have been arrested for people smuggling in lorries and cars. And we know that the economic misery has reduced prison conditions in countries around the world, especially in countries where you hardly thought that a reduction in prison conditions could be possible. Thousands of people each year, whether they're prisoners or families or friends, need our help, and we transform their lives through services which range from protecting life and health to the simple act of human kindness, like birthday greetings. For prisoners abroad, our vision will remain the same, and that is that people survive overseas imprisonment with dignity and hope. Thank you.